different milestones and expanded on already the milestones that were initiated by the executives before them. Medical education is a very, very pertinent and imperative part of our profession. And when you look at the MAPE part, we have the education part as well as the research part. So our main goals will be to drive the two components. As ZMA, we want to medical education is not only centralized in Lusaka, but it also rolled out to other provinces and places where our colleagues, the people of Zambia, we want to reintroduce the ground rounds. So initially, in the first quarter, we want to run quarterly ground rounds, and later on see how the milestone is going to be, and pretty much bring it down to possibly monthly ground rounds. We believe this is going to be a very strong stimulus for our continuous medical education and our professional growth, especially as we aim to improve on the quality as was directed by the President earlier this afternoon. I know with the coming in of the STP program, as much as we don't have quantitative data to compare the now and the before, but I think one would assume that the research output is somewhat reduced. So we will see 20 seconds. We'll see how we can integrate that and see that we're not hanging on the aspect of research. All in all, myself, I'm excited to serve the association. I'm excited to be part of this gallant association, and I'll deliver my very best and always commit to make sure that all the demands of the members of this association are met. And thank you, and you have a great evening.
All right, so that was Dr. Chimanjovu. So next we'll call to the podium the chairperson of publications, and that's no other than Dr. Gabriel Sialuona.
Thank you so much to you. The name is Gabriel Sialuono, and is public health chairperson. I want to thank the executive, most specifically Dr. Naim Dalla, who has done very tremendous job. I think even if his foot is smaller than mine, it's really hard for me to fit in because of what he's been able to deliver to the association. I'm based in Muchindamo district, the only medical officer there, but quite capable of running, because I believe that in an association, it's not a one-man show. So expect me to ever consult you on some of the important matters regarding public health. There are a lot of wide issues that concern public health pertaining to our association, but maybe I can just say one. As we interact, as we get into office, we'll be able to unload a lot of these things. One thing that I'd want to see in a short possible time is that we're able to inform the public and government with things that are happening on the ground. For example, we were talking, I think, of antimicrobial resistance. What we are seeing, us that are in the villages, is that when an antibiotic comes, the only one that you see in a package is ceftriaxone that is going to a health post. And because I understand maybe these studies could have been done in Lusaka or Copperbelt, and then decisions are made that the antibiotic that is needed, that is working, is ceftriaxone, and then we receive ceftriaxone in a health post where we know that probably the first line are still working. So I'm hoping that we can work together to be able to at least get informed science from each province, from each district, that we can carry out these researches and inform government and the public well, unlike just seeing it come from Lusaka and the Copper Belt. I will not say much. No, just a light moment. I will not say much. We'll keep interacting and then share ideas. I'm very, very willing to learn from all of you, our teachers, our colleagues, with so much wealth. Thank you so much for meeting.
All right, thank you, Dr. Gabriel. He was my president when I was the vice president of Unzameta back in med school, so I know your last name. Yeah, so next we'll go ahead and call the new treasurer, Dr. Simusika.
Is Zambezi taller than me?
Yes.
You're taller than me? Sorry, I'm just having to adjust this here. Malfunction. Alright, good evening everyone. So like everybody has alluded to, I will not waste much of our time because I know where the brunt of things are. But my roles as treasurer really have been made a bit simpler by my outgoing colleague, that is Dr. Bright Moyo, who's done an excellent job, I must say. They have really increased our ins. So the ZMA really just makes a lot of our income, or a lot of our money, resources really, is through membership. And what they have done really is something that we need to applaud them for. They have almost doubled the number of members that are remitting subscription every year, from 2,500 to almost 4,500 doctors. So this is something I think they've done very well, and I must applaud them. The one thing I think that still needs to be done is an expansion of the ZMA investment portfolio. We're still having a few challenges in the investment portfolio, but I believe that with strengthening of grant writing and a lot of public fees through this grant writing, we should be doing better than we did this year. Also, I think we must recommend outgoing treasurer for a successful deliverance of the financial policy that they have given the RDAZ, which is one of our strongest affiliates. And I think by delivering this very strong financial policy, it has reinstated us funding RDAZ and other affiliate associations. So what I aim to do better, really, is just to strengthen grant writing, expand our investment portfolio, maintain the confidence that we've now attained from the private sector, and maintain the subscriptions as they are. So thank you very much, everyone. Although I've gone unopposed, I know a lot of people would have wanted to be in my shoes, but pressure is for tires. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now to actually start the most interesting parts of our manifesto night. So we'll start with colleagues for Secretary General. So everybody will be called in alphabetical order. So our first candidate, Dr. Oliver Kaoma, you have 5 minutes to give us your manifesto. Then we'll allow 3 questions, 2 minutes each to answer each one. Come on up.
Thank you very much, Chairperson EC, Secretary, as well as the other Dr. Mbambiko, who is also part of the Electoral Commission. Secretary, has my timing started? Just now? All right. Thank you. Before I begin, I would like to commend all of you for staying up this late to listen to some of the things that I have to share with you as part of my vision for the next ZMA. I recognize the presence of all of you, the senior colleagues and junior colleagues of the profession, past presidents present. Good evening, everyone. So I want to begin by saying, as we are gathered here this evening on this Manifesto night, my mind goes back to the Hippocratic oath that tells us that to do no harm to the patient. And we've sworn to this oath. But just as we've sworn to protect the patient, we must also have a steadfast and resounding resolve to improve the health systems as Zambia Medical Association. Not only that, but to also improve the welfare of those who provide the services in this healthcare system. So my colleagues, as Kauma Oliver, standing or contesting for the position of ZMA Secretary General, I believe ZMA, for it to be stronger, it needs to be part and parcel of the people shaping the policies of the healthcare system. As outgoing ethics chair, I will tell you I've been in several leadership positions dating back from when I was in university. Back then I was Foreign Students Council Vice President. Then when I started medical work, I became the first, not the first, but the president of the UTH branch under RDAZ. From there, I proceeded to become the Ethics and Professional Conduct Board chairperson of the current or the outgoing ZMA executive. And in that office, I've scored a number of achievements which you will all attest to in the flyers that I've shared with you. Apart from that, I'm a Chevening alumni or a Chevening scholar. I also hold a master's degree in international public health, a discipline that gives me the necessary competencies in terms of foreign policy management, health systems development, as well as public health issues. Now, for ZMA to take its place of influence, are 4 things that I want to bring to the table. And these are, 1, we need to strengthen the institutional governance of ZMA. What do I mean by that? Under this, I'm proposing 4 things. 1, we need to enhance the corporate image of ZMA. Number 2, we need to reform the regulatory status of ZMA. What do I mean by that? We need the ZMA bill. We all know and we can agree, and the president today spoke about us having a control or an ability to influence the training standards in this country. But for us to have that leverage, we need to have the legal backing. The 3rd point I'm proposing is enhancing membership engagement. Under this, I'm proposing a decentralized approach in terms of empowering our affiliates so that they engage with the grassroots. My 2nd point, to empower ZMA. By the way, I need to remind everyone that the Office of Secretary General, by Constitution, limits my work to ensuring that the image of the profession is protected, as well as ensuring that I coordinate and handle all correspondences in and out of the association. But not only that, I want to go further and share with you my other ideas of the ZMA I want to see. Coming to the human resource for health crisis, I have these proposals, and I believe they will help us get out of this unemployment crisis that we have. 1 is reforming internship and the regulatory framework around it. This is work I've already begun doing under my office as ethics chair, of course, with engagement. right, I'm told I have 30 seconds. All right, resolving the unemployment crisis, career progression, I am proposing strengthening the STP program, addressing the promotion irregularities, as well as looking at revising or looking at the establishment. By establishment, I mean the positions that are already funded by government. Having sat in several meetings of employment, I've had the privilege to understand that the positions need to be expanded because we have a growing number of doctors and a growing population that requires service. My fourth point.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Oliver. Time's
My
up.
fourth point is on membership welfare and enhancing
Time
ZMA
is
influence.
up.
Thank you.
Okay. No, you can stand there. You can stand there. Okay, so I'll go ahead and open up the floor to 3 questions. 3 questions for Dr. Oliver. So we've got a hand at the far back.
Doc, thank you so much for the data.
Okay, so ask the questions. We'll ask you to ask the questions first, then you go ahead and answer after all of them have been asked. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kauma. Thank you, Jen, for the information that you
Doc, just go ahead and introduce yourself as well for the minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'm Dr. Lishindi from Livingston Central. So, Dr. Kauma, you said the SG promotes the image of ZMA. What in your manifesto, or what do you bring, how do you intend to promote the image of ZMA? Subsection, do you think by trying to promote the image of ZMA, do you by any chance think the current image of ZMA has gone down? And so, how? Thank you.
Okay, so we'll limit everyone to 1 question each. Okay, go ahead. Mike.
Thank you very much. Chipili Dennis is my name. Dr. Kauma, in your manifesto you mentioned that you want to...
Sorry, kindly repeat your name, sir.
Dennis Chipili. So, in your manifesto you mentioned that you want to reform internship with the increment in number 1, training institution, number 2, the duration currently. Now when you talk of reforms, what is it that you are telling us? Are you reforming from the duration, or are you reforming in what way? Thank you.
Okay, can we have a last question? Okay.
My name's Dr. Chisenga. My question is concerning the ZMA bill. I don't know if there's anyone in the general populace who has ever seen it, but if us as doctors to support the ZMA bill, we need to give input to it. But if it is not available to us, how are we going to give input? And if not, why is it not available to the general membership? Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Kauma, you have 2 minutes to answer each question, so 6 minutes altogether to answer all 3.
Thank you so much for those very important questions. Dr. Lishimpi, your question borders on image of ZMA. How do I intend to rebuild it, and what has it gone down? I think it's common knowledge that in the recent past we've taken a number of blows, not only from the public, but also from the higher levels of governance. And this has painted our profession in a negative light. And that is why I think I believe we need to take a stance and educate the public about what we are as a profession. Now, under rebuilding the image of ZMA, what I'm proposing here and what we need to do is that we need to enhance our public engagement. What do I mean? Our outreaches to the public need to be enhanced with deliberate media coverage. Secondly, we need to take our place in terms of influencing health policies and health matters. Here we need symposiums, writing position papers that will be advanced to the government and help streamline policies towards the attainment of Vision 2030 as well as the universal health coverage agenda. The other proposal under the enhancing of ZMA image is that one common principle is that when the public does not know what you do or what you're about, they are susceptible to believing whatever is fed to them. And why I say this is that there has been a lot of negative misconceptions associated with the profession. So what we need to do, and what I want to do as a ZMA Secretary General, should you give me the mandate, is to create platforms that will enhance our visibility. If a doctor performs some extraordinary surgery in a remote area, we need to cover that, publish it, and make sure the public knows. In addition to our Twitter page, the ZMA Facebook page, I'm proposing we'll have segments on YouTube and videos that will bring out some of the successes, some of the sacrifices that we go through as a profession. So one, policy influence by drafting position papers, symposiums that will be publicized to the public. I wanted to ask, is my time for the first question done? All right. Am I in the second question now? All right. All right. The question on internship reform. What am I proposing? There are two things I mentioned. I mentioned that we need to address the regulation that deals with internship. Now, if some of you managed to attend yesterday's discussion on the Indaba, on the future of internship, we need, one, to reduce its duration, and of course, being cognizant that we do not reduce to our own detriment by compromising quality. So my proposal there, and I submitted this to council, is that we reduce internship to 1 year, 6 months. Then we strengthen components of CPD to cover up for some of the deficiencies that we've noted. The second reform has to do with encouraging private sector participation, opening up internship to the private sector practitioners, and also encouraging ourselves to be part and parcel of the people that set up private practices. And this will allow the absorption of interns into those private centers. Of course, leveraging on the various resources available to us. The third question by Dr. Tsenga on the ZMA bill. Why isn't it available to the general public? Having served in this office as ethics chair, I have come to learn some of the policies, or for lack of a better term, let me say the rules governing policy development, and at what point it is made public knowledge. We were reviewing the Amendment Act of the 2009 HPCZ Act, which is the current act that governs us. And this document is secret and confidential by law until such a time that stakeholder engagement is opened up. So we need, at a time after the bill has passed through all the necessary processes and engagements, it will be made public knowledge. And I believe during its inception, when it was being drafted, consultative processes were done to come up with a draft document, which is currently what we have and what we did submit to the ministry. But once those stakeholder engagements are done, then, and Ministry of Justice as well as the Attorney General allows us to access this document, we can then make it open to the membership. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Kauma, for those lovely plans you have for the association. I'll go ahead now and call our next candidate for Secretary General, Dr. Sompwe L. Mwansa. Okay, so Dr. Mwansa, you have 5 minutes for the manifesto.
Good evening, colleagues. Allow me to begin by saying thank you. Thank you to all of you who have supported me during this time. But most of all, thank you to all of you who have helped me forge a medical career that has served as a launching pad into this race. We have all traveled here for a reason. You're not just here to hear me and the other candidates talk. You are here because you believe in our medical profession and the greatness that it can achieve. Despite the views that have torn us apart and divided us one from the other, you believe, as I do, in what we can achieve when we gather together. 12 years ago, after having spent my life in the diaspora, barely 3 weeks after graduating, I arrived back in Zambia. A young intern, I was welcomed into the medical profession by doctors who would become my mentors, my teachers, and my colleagues. That young doctor who once had little more to offer except an eagerness to listen, readiness to work, and a funny accent, stands before you now, perhaps a little more skilled and knowledgeable, with that same eagerness and readiness, and the accent too, to serve a profession that has stood with me as I journeyed through medicine. My work has taken me from Kitwe via Luansha to Lusaka, back to the Copper Belt. I have been as far north as Mbala, to the northwestern corner of this country, and it has given me an insight into the health landscape and challenges faced by doctors who are struggling to provide care in an overburdened system. Engaging with doctors in different settings and at different times challenged me to take on the mantle of medical advocacy, and this has allowed me to develop the leadership qualities, enhance my communication, actively listen and engage, and master the art of diplomacy, the skill of negotiation, and the finesse of tact. It is my immovable conviction that a representative ZMA is one that will provide platforms for growth, establish structures that encourage membership engagement, and ensure that all doctors are supported as they endeavor to practice this sacred art. All of us are well aware of the challenges faced by the profession. We have talked about them for years, and every year they seem to increase in magnitude while our voices get softer. Without an efficient, organized, effective, and strategic Secretary General and a united association, these challenges will continue to overwhelm us until we drown under the weight of unfulfilled promises. Should I be voted into office, my task will be simple: delivering a functional, engaged, and organized office upon which the National Executive Committee can represent and advocate for our profession. To this end, the following 3 tasks will be the focus of my tenure alongside the fulfillment of my core responsibilities. First, foremost, and perhaps the most challenging, will be a concerted and deliberate effort to ensure that every intern doctor is placed in an institution that has adequate and appropriate supervision and allows the goals of internship to be met. Internship is a training and learning period. It must be protected. Second to this, all specialist societies will have access to a platform that will allow them to reach doctors beyond their specialities by encouraging knowledge and skill sharing through virtual platforms and ensuring that all members have access to locally relevant, evidence-based medicine and best practice. Finally, we must strengthen the logistical support to societies who provide outreach services. These services not only provide care to patients, but also support to the doctors who care for them. The ZMA is strategically placed to build a network of funders who will support and magnify the impact of these services. It is my mission to connect and support doctors through effective policies and on-the-ground support. I will close by saying that I recognize that there are some who see me standing here tonight and doubt if I have the dedication, boldness, courage, and integrity to withstand the storms that no doubt lie ahead of us. I cannot promise perfection, and I know that if I'm elected, I will not deliver a flawless tenure. However, I can promise that as your Secretary General, I will be active, engaged, and responsive to the needs of this membership, because the ZMA is not about me. It cannot be about me. It is about all of us together. A fraternity united with one voice, one purpose, pushing forward in unison to reclaim our profession. I cannot promise perfection, but I can guarantee that I will be there. Every step forward or backward, I will be there fighting with you. Allow me
Thank
the
you, Dr.
opportunity.
Sompwe. Your time is up. All right, thank you so much for that. So I'll allow 3 questions for Dr. Sompwe. Okay, we'll start with the lady at the back.
Hello, good evening. My name is Dr. Janet Mwemba from Dola Teaching Hospital, Eye Clinic. My question to Dr. Sompwe, you mentioned that internship should be supervised and no intern should work minus a senior. I would like to find out how you're going to do that, because I believe this is a problem that has been there. Certain sites that don't have seniors or consultants, but internship still goes on. So I'd like to find out that. Thank you.
All right, the gentleman right here.
Thank you very much. So my name's Dr. Ndumba Wallace. Dr. Mwanza, thank you very much for the nice presentation. So my question is precise. So I don't think this is your first attempt to your leadership journey. You might have served in other leadership roles. So I want you to give me your overriding achievements that you made in the past that give you the propensity and vivacity to run for that position. So give me your topmost achievements that made impact to this profession and give you the propensity and confidence that you are going to meet expectations of this profession. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Sompwe and the team. My question borders on 2 of the most contentious issues that have been coming up through the debates and the like. The issue of ZMA bill, as well as unionizing RDAZ. Suppose you are given a chance to pick between the 2. Which one would you go with and why?
All right, thank you for the questions. So Dr. Sompwe, you have 6 minutes to answer all 3 questions.
Thank you. So beginning with Dr. Mwamba's question, with regard to unsupervised internship and how we propose to meet that challenge, I think that one of the things that we have to be cognizant of is that for a long time, we have had this lapse in standards, and it's something that we as a profession have allowed to continue. We have not put our foot down. We have not taken HPCZ to task. We have not taken the ministry to task over the internship sites. And I think that that is the first port of call, is that we actually need to put our foot in the sand. We don't need to wait for a union, for ZMA bills to pass. If we have a united voice, it is up to us to push for the numbers that we need, where we need them, based on the needs of this population. That's the first question. Dr. Ntumba, any attempt at leadership is audacious, and any attempt at leadership requires confidence. let me just say that what I'm standing here for is not necessarily to be a leader. I want to be an advocate, and I've always been an advocate. From my internship days, I worked with the RDAZ Quito branch. I was a committee member. Quite all right, I had stepped aside from advocacy for some time, but in leadership, in working in theater, in various organizations, I have stood as an advocate. One thing I am most proud of, however, is during my time as Secretary General for the Society of Anesthetists of Zambia, I was able to form the Lusaka Sota Working Group, and it is a conglomerate of 6 societies that have decided as specialists, this is the standard that we want, and this is how we are going to work, and this is what we're pushing for. That is my proudest achievement. Finally, with regards to between the ZMA bill and unionizing RDAZ, yes, it is a contentious issue, but I would like to remind you all that standing here as a specialist, I do not qualify to be a member of the RDAZ. I have no choice but to back the ZMA bill because that is a bill that includes me. Unless I'm mistaken, an RDAZ membership has been extended to include us. But the last time I checked, the only voice that I have right now is the ZMA, and I must fall behind it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Mwansa, for that powerful speech. So we'll go ahead and move on to our next candidates. So this was going to be for the position of Vice President. So we have three candidates. So this one is a very contentious. Yeah. So we'll go ahead, and like I said, we're going to call everybody in alphabetical order. So you're going to have 5 minutes for the manifesto, and then you'll be given 3 questions each as well, and then you have 6 minutes to answer all 6 questions. So the first candidate we're going to call Okay, so the first candidate we're gonna call for is going to be Dr. Alex Lwando.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. I can see I've inspired quite a bit of you. Being that I think I'm the only director. At a reasonably young age. Thank you very much. Colleagues, seeing that I've been given only 5 minutes and there's quite a lot that has to be presented, so I think I'll respond to the questions that have been seen flying around, and then I'll engage you further with the other 3 questions that I'll be given a chance to speak about. So the first part that I'll talk about is doctor unemployment and promotions. Colleagues, when you sit on the negotiating table, you are supposed to have the experience and the knowledge to engage the stakeholder that you are speaking to. On our side, we've got a number of documents. We have the UPND Manifesto for the party that is in running right now. We have the 8th National Development Plan. We've got the Vision 2030. We've got the World Health Association Resolution of 1982. And on top of that, we have the strategic plan. All of these speak to one thing: universal health coverage, taking healthcare as close as possible to the community. Are we there as of today? Today the president was talking about ourselves, empowering ourselves. He was talking about harnessing in what is currently existing and all the opportunities that are available to us. Colleagues, have we done that? On the issue of unemployment, there are two ways to tackle it. One, government route and self-empowerment. Government route, how do we do that? First of all, dear colleagues, when we go to lobby for employment as doctors, we go and present numbers. We want 100 doctors to be employed. We want 200 doctors to be employed. Do you know what our colleagues, the nurses, do? They'll go with a list. They are going to say, we need 20 tutors, we need 50 midwives, we need 200 enrolled nurses, we need 500 registered nurses, so that even if their numbers are reduced, their numbers are still acceptable. For us, we don't go with a list that identified clearly how many consultants we need, how many registrars we need, how many ceremonies we need, how many ceremonies. As a result, we are always given few numbers. Secondly, colleagues, one wrong assumption that we make as a profession is that we think the decision makers know exactly what we need. If we go to them and tell them we need 500 doctors, they give us 200 doctors. What do you think are the implications in their heads? We need to come up with a service paper that will clearly identify that by you, the decision makers, giving us 2 less doctors, it means you've condemned 5 pregnant women to death. It means you've condemned 3. When you quantify it like that, there will be context. There will be context to the numbers. As they are reducing the numbers, they know exactly the implication of that on the ground. The other side, dear colleagues, the side of self-empowerment. And I think my work has been done in that aspect, because today the president talked very much about self-empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a tool that we supported as ZMA from 2012, which was the national scheme. We are looking at homegrown financing solution, and that has been achieved. And we are now supposed to provide homegrown service provision. Now, who better can provide that than us doctors who are everywhere within the country? My colleague there is coming from Chulubi. The other one is coming from Ufinga. So if we are looking at service providers, who is better placed than ZMB to provide the service that we need? Yes.